Hey guys, if you're watching this video, this is just an personal series for me. I have my technical interviews coming up, and I want to practice Leetcode. I also want to document my journey along. So this is not an educational video. This is just me solving the problems, trying to see how well I explain it while I solve them, and so that I can review the videos after. The reason why I'm pushing it to YouTube is because I don't have enough hard drive space or cloud space. So that's literally the only reason. You don't have to watch this video, but if you want to, because you have nothing better to do, you're free to go. Anyway, but I wouldn't be too surprised if this had like one view, because it's just gonna be me watching it once. Anyways, so now I actually did start solving lead code already. This is actually my second problem. What I was doing is I was going through each of these problems to solve. I already solved the Roman to int. These are the must-do easy questions before I do go to the medium. And right now I'm solving the valid parentheses question. Um, as for the video, I do understand that I would like to keep, like, for personal reasons, I would like to keep this as natural as possible. But if I start struggling with a problem, there's no point in like just recording myself stuck with a problem. So I'm just gonna sometimes maybe pause the video and Google a little bit, maybe just to get hints. But more or less, I'm gonna try as much as possible to keep it natural so that I can see how well I improve. Like clearly, since I just started, and since my programming skills are really crappy, it's not gonna be that great. But yeah, we're gonna go along the way, and I'm gonna see how will I improve over the next couple of months. Okay, cool. So now, let's look at this question. It's actually I did see this question before in class, so I this is a valid parentheses question, and you just have to output true or false if the parentheses is not valid versus if it is valid. Um, and I actually know the answer to this. You just have to implement a stack data structure to store the parentheses as they come in from the user input, because a stack data structure is um, it's a last in first out data structure, so it just works well with the question to solve it. So it's gonna implement that. There's really no better solution to this. It's just straightforward. Okay, so given a string containing just the characters, these determine if this input string is valid. Okay, so public boolean is valid string as well. You guys, welcome back. For some reason, my earphones just decided to power off. Anyways, so let's put this string one by one to a stack first. Now, how do we implement stack in Java? Yes, I am that bad. I'm so dead. Okay, stack class in Java. Well, I'm really not supposed to do this, but it's a learning curve for me, I guess. So I'm just gonna allow myself to have a little bit of lenience in the beginning. Let's declare the stack. It's not going to be an integer, it's going to be char array. Right? Right. Okay. Stack for holding characters. Why char name can hold more than one character? But oh, okay. We'll didn't get which stack I was talking about. Okay. Stack Java for all. Stack character stack. All right. We need to use the wrapper classes for some reason. Character. Um, parent. Let's just call them parent. As a tribute to all the beautiful parents out there. So stack parent new stack character. Okay, sure. Sure. Okay. Now, parents push. Okay, we want to iterate through all the strings. And okay, let's. Here's the thing. We don't want to. Okay, so here's the catch in this problem. You have two options really. You have this entire string. It can go through the entire string and get a false somewhere and basically still go through the remaining parts of the string and then output false. Or the moment you detect that the parentheses is not valid, you can just stop the program and output false. Because once it has already been proven false, it's never just gonna suddenly become true, right? Because it's already false. So to increase the speed of our program, what we want to do is we want to return false to this function the moment we encounter it. So obviously that won't kill the for loop. So for loop still needs to exist. So for int I is equal to 0, and then I, the limit is going to be less than s length. I need to enter the spelling B and then the I++. All right. Okay, so now yeah, we are going to. Sorry, I just got lost there for a second. Happened. Parent dot push s dot char at. This gets the character in the corresponding position. I and push it in the stack character. Wait, we only did. Okay, so if let's get the ASCII values. Let's get the ASCII table for the parentheses. If it's what we want to do is if it's a starting bracket, which is either this or this or this, we want to push it to the stack because it will keep getting pushed. So if s.char at I, which is the character we're considering, is equal to, the moment we write equal to, it's going to convert it to ASCII value. So if the ASCII value is equal to 40, because that's the first bracket for that's the beginning, I don't know how to say this, but the beginning first bracket, like the opening first bracket, my bad. And then if the character we have is the opening first bracket, or if the character we have is the opening second bracket. Where is the opening second bracket? I see the opening third bracket. Here's the opening second bracket. So if the character we have is what? Wait a minute. A is equal to 10. This does not look like an ASCII table to me. What is this? Why are there so many numbers? Hex, oct. Okay, I'm not going to refer to this confusing ASCII table. Okay, so opening first bracket, where are you? 40. There you go. So decimal is what I was looking for, of course. Anyways, opening second bracket, or if it's the opening second bracket, which is 123. 123. Or if the character is an opening third bracket, which is 91. 91. Then we push. Okay, so now you might be thinking, what if input is invalid? Well, for interview questions, as far as I've heard, you solve it most of the time, unless mentioned otherwise, you solve it as if the input would be valid. You don't have to account for all the test cases within, because all you'll get is 30 minutes. I know I'm pushing 10 for this easy problem, but yeah, as long as within because all you get is a short amount of time. So what you want to do is you want to only count for the situations where you assume a valid input will be passed in. So you don't have to account for all the times when a weird user inputs a weird input and you need to have test cases. They won't expect you from that. They won't expect that from you. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so if char at I is equal to 40, 123 second bracket, or 91, which is the third bracket, then we are going to push into the stack. Else, which is basically given that it's a valid input, it's given that all of the inputs are within these. Else encompasses for all the closing brackets, we want to pop parent dot pop. Yeah, we just want to pop, right? Cool. We have NetBeans open in case we have any, you know, what do you call that? Syntax errors, because I don't think Leetcode detects syntax errors here. Like I said, I'm just new here. I'm just solving. This is my second problem that I'm solving. I used NetBeans completely and a Geeks for Geeks actually for my first problem, so still not there yet. Else, if it is a closing bracket, we pop. And we need to store this popped value somewhere, right? So char. Okay, actually, let's declare a character here. Char temp. Char temp is going to have our pop value, and temp is going to hold this pop, the character which has been popped from the stack. And now we need to compare this. If char at is equal to, now here's the thing, we need some math here. If we can either write three if statements where we say if it's the closing first bracket, then the popped value needs to be the opening first bracket, or if it's the closing second bracket, the popped value needs to be the opening second or third bracket in this case. Or we can write three if statements accordingly, or we can just write a math function where basically we just check whether the popped value is one ASCII character less than the value that we have in hand, right? So if it's one value less, then that's the opening version of the corresponding bracket. So oh wait, Jesus Christ! I thought they're all one character differences, but they're not. So what can we do here? Well, here's the thing. Well, we can write it somewhat like this, like, yeah, well, I think we're better off writing three if statements in this case. I mean, what's the harm? It's just three if statements. So if temp is equal to 41, wait, temp is equal to 40, and is dot char at I is not equal to 41, or temp is equal to 123, and s dot char at I is not equal to 125, or 91 and not equal to 93. Checking the brackets. Okay, so class solution, public boolean is valid. For loop is enclosed. Else if. Okay, so else if. Wait, I messed up the brackets here. So what I mean here is, if it's one of the first brackets, we push it in the stack, okay? So let's write the comment here. If one of the opening brackets push into stack, okay? And then if one of the closing brackets, because we obviously assume that they're all going to be closing brackets, right? Else. Then pop the first thing from the stack and check if they don't match. So if the first thing that we popped is the opening bracket, is an opening bracket, and wait, actually we do need to check if they are closing brackets. So else if they're one of the closing brackets, that is, it's 41, or it's 125, or it's 93, and they are one of the closing brackets. All we got to do is pop. Okay, so we know that they are one of the closing brackets. So if s dot char at I is equal to 41, and when it is equal to 41, if temp is equal to 40, then we have a corresponding opening bracket. Okay, then we don't want to check for true. We want to check for false. Okay, so let's Let's put this first. So if one of the opening brackets pushes into the stack, cool. If one of the closing brackets, then pop the previous one from the stack. Okay, cool. Pop previous from stack. And based on that, after we're done popping it, if it is 41, that is the closing first bracket, and the one we popped is the closing, sorry, the opening first bracket is not the opening first bracket, then it's false. Or if what we popped, sorry, no, what we have, if what we have is closing second bracket, and what we popped is not opening second bracket, it's false again. And finally, if what we have is the the closing third bracket, and what we got is not the opening, sorry, third bracket, yeah, then return false. All these instances, we return false. Oh, we're done with our if statement. Finally, check. This if statement checks if popped value is the corresponding opening bracket. So let's say we over here, right? So this is what we have at hand. Therefore, we enter into the else if statement because this is the closing third bracket, which matches 93. Then we pop the previous value in the stack, which will pop this. Then it will check while this is the closing third bracket, which is true. Does temp have the opening third bracket? And it's false because the temp has the opening first bracket only, right? So if the corresponding values are not 40 or 123 or 91 for 41, 125, and 93 respectively, then we return false. However, yes, that's it, basically. Yeah, so, however, if we don't return false, what does that mean? That means since we've only been pushing in opening brackets into the stack, and then once we were trying to push in a closing bracket, we have determined it. I'm just checking if this if statement fails for anything. Yes, the if statement works because this branch will be entered every time we don't have the corresponding value. So it will always be entered regardless of because we already have in the if else statement, the else if statement, that we're only going to enter this branch if we have a valid closing bracket. So since we already know that we have a valid closing bracket, all we need to do to enter this if statement and therefore return false is if we don't have the exact corresponding opening bracket, which will guarantee all the test cases in the event where it is false. Now, if this if statement passes, that is, it's not entered and we don't return false, what does that mean? That means it was clearly one of the closing brackets because we are inside the else if statement, but it had the corresponding opening bracket. Therefore, we're going to pop the remaining values. No, we actually popped both of them. So yeah, so then we're done because we popped the first bracket too, so they've been neutralized. So for every opening bracket, push it in the stack. For every closing bracket, pop the previous value from the stack and check if it is the corresponding opening bracket. If it is, well, congratulations. The value that has been popped has already been neutralized by the closing bracket. And if it's invalid value, we never even push it in the stack. So we only push in opening brackets, and we pop every time we get the corresponding closing brackets to neutralize it. And last but not least, if the entire function passes in and we never return false, then at the end of the for loop, we check the last test case. We check if stack is empty. If it is empty, that means not only we have passed the cases where a corresponding closing bracket was tried to be pushed in, but the corresponding opening bracket didn't exist, but we have also neutralized every single opening bracket that we pushed in the first place, which means that it's not an incomplete parentheses either, which means that it's valid, so we return true. And let's just check if is it okay. No, let's not check. Let's just run the code. Oh my god. Yeah, I knew it. Okay, so isMt is wrong. Okay. Actually, I got my stack name wrong. I think I named it parents. Yes, to all the parents in the world. Run code. Missing return statement. Yeah, else. Yeah, there's a scenario where it will never return a statement. So else if the stack is not empty, false. Because even though the corresponding closing brackets have been neutralized, the entire parentheses has not been neutralized, which means that we have missing closing brackets. So we never entered this, but that doesn't mean it's not false. So return false for a second time for the second test case, and now it should run. Accepted. Yes. Let's try to run this. Judging. Don't judge me. I've already been accepted. I told you not to judge me. Come on. Hallelujah. Let's submit the code, man. Why are we wasting our time? What? Last exit. Oh, right. Okay, so what if it starts off with a closing bracket? Then what we need to do is, well, turns out interviewers sometimes, at least to some extent, expect you to handle the erroneous inputs. Well, in this case, if in order to pop, we have to have a valid stack. What if the first value is, is closing? Well, we have to account for that. If parent is empty, which means we're pushing in a closing bracket before an opening bracket. And we return false. Because it's already invalid. Julio Mushmulio Yash. Come on, 29 minutes, 30 seconds. Runtime 5 milliseconds. Faster than 10.81. Only 10.81? Damn, that's not a good solution. Try to submit it again. Wow, I'm only faster than 10.1%. Well, I solved it within 30 minutes, I guess, but it really should have taken 5 minutes, but yeah, I have a long way to go. Anyways, thanks. That's it for today.